said, no, Tonto, bring the posse. The posse. All right, here we go. Just telling Greg a little joke there before the show. This is Stokastic NFL Live Before Lock Sunday Night Football here. We have an intriguing matchup here. Should be a close one. We have two teams that are pushing towards the top of their respective standings. I was going to lead off with the San Diego Chargers. I've been so good. The Los Angeles Chargers are not at the top of their division, and they're going to have to hold off Kansas City or do battle with them for a wild card slot. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking like the runaway favorites in the AFC North, Greg. It could be a pitched battle. We have a really old quarterback, a team with no running backs, and a lot of receivers to choose from. How are you doing, good sir?
I am trying to look up where that reference is from, and as a surprise to nobody, it appears that you may have dated yourself a little bit here, Emac.
Is this a vaudeville joke or something?
It is from Texas Lone Ranger. And what year was that?
Well, yeah, the TV show was The Lone Ranger. It was a black and white show, so I'm guessing it was movie reels before that. So I think it was in the 40s. 50s.
Yeah. I think it was from the 40s. You just casually started the show with references that are 80 years dated. 80 years dated. The stuff that Emac brought his kids up on. Just the old stuff.
It's a great joke. The classics. We were doing the 80s last night on NBA Live Before Lock, so I guess we're going to do the 40s, the greatest generation. Cut their teeth on that joke. So good times. See, the usuals are popping in here. Obi-Wan, Dirty O. Miss Amy is there. We've got So Toxic, who is always so toxic. It's going to be a good one tonight, Greg. Anyway, I'm just going to do San Diego again. I was telling my wife that I got better about not calling them San Diego today, and I didn't even write it once in the article. Yet here I am, tripping over it already. We have the Chargers favored by about a field goal here. So this should be a fun one. It's indoors. And tomorrow night, it's going to be on the frozen tundra in Green Bay. Temperatures around 30 as the cold snap comes down from Canada. It'll be hitting Florida here in about 3 days. But I'm sure you're going to be wearing your robe and fuzzy slippers on some shows here the Tuesday or Wednesday.
Could be coming up. That is definitely a possibility. When it's the real possibilities when we get holidays a couple weeks from now where, like gonna have family over or whatever, and I'm not going to probably want to get dressed in the morning. So some of those shows, because, we've got the Thanksgiving, that's going to be an early NFL show. We're going to have the Christmas show coming up. That'll be an early NBA Live Before Lock show. Those are the ones that I probably won't be getting dressed for.
All right. Well, that is something for all of us to look forward to. Let's jump in on the games here. No real craziness with inactives. I can't even remember who the one random inactive was for the Steelers, but it's Disley is the only skill position player of note that is going to be out for the Chargers. But with the emergence of Oronde Gadsden II, that is an entirely different position for the Chargers. If we look at the top here, we've got with the Pittsburgh, since they are the visitors, Aaron Rodgers, 21st in the league with 211 passing yards per game. Not great. He does have 17 passing touchdowns. He has 2 games with 4 passing touchdowns, yet only 2 games above 250 passing yards. So he is not really setting the world on fire with his numbers. Aside from those touchdowns, his over-under on rushing yards, I believe it was about minus 115 for 1.5 rushing yards. He does not run anymore. It's the 42-year-old arm is going to have to carry us all the way here. Only twice this season has he scored more than 19 fantasy points. Those were both in those 4 touchdown games. What do you want to do with old man Rodgers?
Yeah, so quarterbacks are always going to make sense as flex options, either on DraftKings or FanDuel, as far as the single game slates go. But you basically laid out the case where I don't want Aaron Rodgers in the multiplier spot. He does show up if you don't make any real adjustments into a handful of lineups in the Sims and either the captain or the MVP on FanDuel or DraftKings. But Emac, what's the realistic path for him to be the highest scoring player in the game? It's so hard.
4 touchdowns.
and even then, like DK Metcalf could have 100 yards and a touchdown, end up scoring more fantasy points than him, right? Because if Rodgers goes out and puts up, let's say 250 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, you're looking at a good game of, 24 fantasy points, something along those lines. We know that, like you just said, there's no rushing upside. Is over under for rushing yards. It's 1.5 for the game. But even if he does that, what if DK Metcalf catches 2 of them? What if DK Metcalf has over 100 yards and all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers isn't the guy who's in the winning captain spot anyway? So I find it really difficult to want to play him in the multiplier spot. So I'd be most inclined to give him a negative ROI boost who doesn't show up in the MVP or the captain spot. As far as utility goes, at $9,600, he looks great there. I just don't want him in the multiplier spot.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And then in turn, as we look onto the other side with Justin Herbert, he is having one of his better seasons, best of the last 3 years. He has been getting more passing volume. He is averaging 265.6 passing yards per game. That's 3rd in the league, and it's about 3 yards per game away from being the leader, actually. Last year, he averaged 227.6 yards. So the big difference is, 1, the Chargers need to pass more, and 2, without that offensive line, they are not able to get much of a running game going. They're already down their top 2 backs. It sounds like Omarion Hampton, the rookie, is not going to return before Thanksgiving at this point, and it could be longer. So there's not as much of a running game to take pressure off of Herbert. Herbert's also rushing for, I think he has 6 of his 8 games. He has more than 30 rushing yards, just 1 touchdown. He got that last week, but he's having to do some things on his own just to help keep the offense moving here. So he is the guy that's popping in the captain for me. Should be no surprise there. It's pretty obvious to everybody. And he also has the highest median fantasy point projection by a couple points on each side. I'm assuming you're getting a similar read on that one.
Yes. By the way, also just wanted to answer this question because Dylan Burke put into chat that he doesn't know how to use the entry manager. If you didn't see it, Dylan, I put into the YouTube chat the video for how to use the entry manager. So where is the message that he sent? I know I saw it in here somewhere. Well, either way, Dylan had put in the chat. Oh, here it is. Please explain entry manager. So it's kind of hard to explain on the show. It's a simple tool to use, but it would take like 5 minutes to explain, which 5 minutes doesn't seem like a lot of time, Emac, but that's forever for the purpose of a show, especially when that wouldn't apply to a bunch of people watching. But I put into the YouTube chat the video for how to use it. It's only a few minutes long. Check out that video. It should answer any questions that you guys have. And also wanted to shout out, we have Chris Albers in the chat, said he hit his eight-leg play on pick 6. He had Ferguson, he had Gibbs, he had Jennings, he had Kittle for a touchdown, he had Tesla, he had Jameson Williams, he had Puka Nacua. So he turned $5 into $550. I want to shout out Chris Albers for that. And then also, Pick 6 is the sponsor of the show today, guys. So if you guys want to check out DK Pick 6, you can cash like Chris Albers did. $5 to $550 is a pretty good deal.
Well played, sir. Well played. So I'm assuming you're in agreement on the Herbert side of things there. So what is your take on the Pittsburgh, the receivers? We have DK Metcalf splashing the pot. You've got Calvin Austin III is back. He missed a couple games. He's been back for 2 games. He's gotten decent targets, I think 5 in each game or 6 in each game. You have a little bit of Roman Wilson, and then we're going to include the tight ends here because it's the tight ends that are getting a ton of looks from Aaron Rodgers, and it's been different ones all season. There's been no real rhyme or reason. Just when we thought Pat Freiermuth was out of the mix, the last 4 games, he's had 3 touchdowns, plus that 100-yard game. I believe that was on National Tight End Day as well, but or the Thursday leading up to it. That is just crazy stuff there, Greg. How do you want to parse this out? Because aside from DK Metcalf, it's hard to pinpoint anyone that is going to get targets with any volume.
Yeah, and also, sorry if I glossed over it, but Justin Herbert's the best play in the game. He shows up in the captain spot more than anybody else. He shows up in the flex spot more than anybody else. We've got him in over 80% of the lines show up in the sim. So not too much else to add other than what you said. He's the best overall play on this. Like, just play Justin Herbert today if you're playing cash games. For sure, play him and probably play him in the captain spot. And on FanDuel, he looks great in the MVP spot as well. As far as the Steelers pass catchers go, DK Metcalf is somebody who has pretty modest ownership here, Emac, 28% in the flex spot, and the captain spot, just 8% owned. And I kind of don't really understand this. Why is Rodgers 7% owned in the captain spot and DK Metcalf only 8% owned? Because Metcalf, while the floor is lower because he's not a quarterback, the ceiling to me is so much higher on DK Metcalf. So Metcalf, we haven't seen too many, massive individual games from him, but he has caught touchdowns in 5 games so far this year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is by far the most live player on the team to have over 100 yards and a touchdown. So if I could only pick one player to play on the Steelers in the multiplier spot, it would be DK Metcalf. He's my overall favorite pass catching option from the Steelers. And it gets kind of tricky beyond him just because they have so many tight ends. You mentioned they've 3 tight ends they've thrown the football to this year at a pretty decent clip, and it could be any of them at any given point in time. So you look here, Pat Freiermuth, $3,400. We got him showing up in some lineups here. Jonnu Smith is $3,200. So of the two of them, I'm going to lean a little bit more towards Freiermuth just because they spread the ball out so much. Just give me the guy who's lower owned, and I don't have a real read on who's going to be the guy who's more likely to draw targets here. Jonnu Smith is 25% owned. Freiermuth is only 14% owned. It's so close. We've got about a half-point fantasy point difference between Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth, with being that much of a coin flip between the two of them. If I have to pick one, just give me the one who's pulling about half the ownership in Freiermuth.
That makes sense. Only $400 separating the 3 guys of them. Over the last 4 games, Jonnu Smith has been averaging 36 snaps, Darnell Washington 38, and Freiermuth 29, though it's been Freiermuth that's been getting the production. And I think something must have happened with Freiermuth 4 games ago because the other guys each out-snapped him by almost 20 plays. So that is where some of that chasm is coming from. But I wanted to include that full 4-game set because it was a good sample size, just demonstrating we don't know what's going to happen. Now, FanDuel is a different story. So for those of you playing on the blue side, you've got Jonnu Smith looking the best at $4,400. $1,000 more, you've got Freiermuth, so that's tamping down some of his popularity. And then, you have Washington at $3,600. So he actually is a bargain compared to his peers where everybody's just tightly packed on DraftKings. So that is one of the nuances between those 2 sites today here. I wanted to also mention Roman Wilson. So he's the last guy. He's a fringe discount play. We don't really have discounts. Doesn't seem like we need them that much just because of how spread out the teams are with their scoring. But he is 20. He's 2,000 on DraftKings, 3,400 on FanDuel. I'd rather roll with one of the tight ends, but he's in the mix. He should be good for 2 or 3 targets, and he is running routes. He is with Austin, kind of their co-wide receiver 2 there, but everybody's well behind Metcalf. Metcalf has over half the targets to the position.
Yeah, so I think you really hit the nail on the head, Emac, in terms of the super cheap guys not being all that necessary. That's actually why I sorted here by salary. You've got Justin Herbert at $10,600. Rodgers is $9,600. McConkey's $9,400. That's it. You've only got one player over $10K, and it's one of the quarterbacks who we're probably playing in any kind of circumstance. You don't have one of these, there's no JSN or Puka Nacua or anything like that on Sunday Night Football. So there just isn't that much opportunity cost to just avoiding the cheap guys, right? Because you're going to be able to fit in a lot of the high end guys anyway. So if you look at some of the exposures of the cheaper guys, let's see, who is the one that shows up most prominently? Yeah, of guys who are 2K and below here, Emac, we have the most of Ben Skoranek and Roman Wilson, and they are in 2 out of 150 lineups. This is just not a slate where it's all that necessary to go super cheap because of the lack of spend-up options. Instead, if we go and sort by exposure, it's the defense is showing up in some lineups, but actually Chargers defense shows up in a pretty good amount of lineups in the sim, so I should take that back. The Steelers defense, a bit, but not anything crazy. But as far as like really cheap options, they just don't show up in lineups. They're pretty unnecessary.
Agreed. Is Scott Matlock is the guy. Somebody's asking about him. That's the guy Lofty was fired up for that got a touchdown a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah. So the Scott Matlock backstory is, first off, he looks like he looks. This is not my thought. This is Lofty's, but it's very true and it's very funny. Scott Matlock looks like Kyle from South Park, but on steroids. So first off, he looks like a character, but then on top of it too, he's listed on Football Reference this is a never before seen position. He's listed as a fullback / defensive end over on Football Reference. And there was a showdown.
He's Patrick Ricard, but he's still on the defensive side of the ball more often.
He plays both sides. He's got a couple sacks in his career. He scored a touchdown last week. And what happened is Lofty there was one slate where punts were really necessary, and Lofty said, "Hey, I'm taking a chance on Matlock and I'm betting him to score a touchdown." And then Lofty had said on top of that, he said he was going to bet Matlock to score a touchdown every slate for the rest of the year. And then as things happened, he forgot he said that, and Matlock scores a touchdown the next week at like 50-1 to score a touchdown or something like that. And he completely forgot about it. So this is another Scott Matlock slate because the Chargers are playing. The problem is you just don't need to save that salary at all for today.
Yeah, it's far too risky on that. Let me get that taken care of. Okay, so turning over to, I guess, let's talk running backs just to finish up Pittsburgh. So you've got Jaylen Warren. You have, why am I blanking on the Pittsburgh back or the Philadelphia backup? Kenny Gainwell. Over the last 4 weeks, essentially since the bye and since Jaylen Warren was injured, they've settled into about a 65% of the snaps for Warren, somewhere between 30 and 40 for Gainwell here. I believe it's 9-2 in red zone opportunities since their week 5 buys, leaning towards Warren. And while Gainwell is a perfectly serviceable backup, he's not super shifty. He's not super fast. He's just kind of the steady. Coaches love him because he's going to do exactly what he's supposed to do on the play. And that has value in the NFL, but not so much for daily fantasy sports. So he is mostly an afterthought at this point. He would need something to have something happen to Warren before he is going to be a difference maker, unless he lucks into a fortuitous touchdown. But as I said, Warren's getting the red zone looks, or it's going to the tight ends. So it's hard to even call that out. And really his only big game was the one in Europe when Warren was hurt. Anything you want to add? I think the rookie Caleb Johnson, he's been inactive a couple times over the last month. I believe he's active tonight. He's mostly playing special teams. He's not returning kicks. He's lost that job. So he is just kind of there. You don't need to play him. Yeah.
So looking at the Chargers pass catchers, I should say, I'm kind of interested. Do you feel good about? I never know which Chargers pass catcher is going to be the guy on any given day. I kind of like how our ownership is breaking out in the Sims, where it's giving us 25% of Gadsden, 36% of McConkey, Johnston showing up in 20% of lineups. I don't want to be married to any of these guys. I want to be spread around. I'm curious if you have a better read than me on who it is that you think is going to be the guy of the Chargers pass catchers, because I think I've been wrong every single slate that I've, other than the one where Quentin Johnston was out, just because there was one less guy to choose from and it was easier.
Correct.
Other than that, I found it nearly impossible on a week-to-week basis to really narrow down which Chargers pass catchers to go to. So I kind of like spreading it out here, but maybe there's something you're seeing that I don't, where maybe I should be prioritizing one over the other.
I'm glad you asked, because I just dropped the link to my free article for all of the primetime slates here. I spent about 3 hours researching these games and then writing it up and then ranking the entire player pool. Here's what I found with the matchup against Pittsburgh. 10 different wide receivers have put up at least 85 yards against them. 6 have gone for over 100. Additionally, 3 tight ends have gone for 81 or more yards, including Tucker Kraft and Hunter Henry, who each scored 2 touchdowns. The Steelers have a terrible, I forget the cornerbacks' names, but they have a terrible slot cornerback. They've got a couple key injuries, or some of their players. Joey Porter hasn't recovered, or Joey Porter Jr. hasn't recovered his form from his rookie year, and he looks even worse than last year. Their slot cornerback is terrible, and then they've got one of the other cornerbacks is kind of playing safety, is per some of the other analysis that I have read, because I don't go too deep into that. But the point is, they are just a mess here. The linebackers are all getting old. Steelers defense has a fair number of sacks, an adequate number of turnovers, but they're not preventing yards, and they're not preventing touchdowns to the passing game. So where I looked at this, Greg, if we look at Keenan Allen, in his last two games, oh my gosh, he only has a 37% and a 25% snap rate. God, we can never play him again. Those were two blowout games. And even though that Tennessee game looked much, 27-20 or whatever it was, there was a defensive touchdown and a kick return touchdown in the first quarter by Tennessee. That game was never particularly close. They didn't need to play Keenan Allen a lot. The game prior to that, that was that 37-10 win in Minnesota. So they didn't really need to pass in that game, much like we saw the Seahawks today stop. I don't know if they threw a pass in the third quarter today, but they just they need him out there. I actually like him the most. Mm-hmm. McConkey is, he's everybody's favorite. He's returning to form after his slow start, but he is super expensive. I believe it's on FanDuel. He's really, really expensive compared to the other guys. And then when we look at Quentin Johnson, he had decent touchdowns last year in his second season in the league. And this year he looks to be putting everything together. Remember how bad he was his rookie year, just looked out of place, was only good on slant routes where he could, fall down or get somebody on a jump ball, fall down. He's great on the outside now. He got a lot more body control. I think he's interesting, but I'd rather go with the other two guys because I think attacking that they're going to be the two operating out the slot. And that's really the biggest weakness for the Steelers defense.
All right. I could dig that for sure. By the way, I did want to answer in the chat. If anybody has questions in your Stokastic sub, you can hit me up in Discord. I'm about to pull that up here as well. But Einstein asked the question. He said, we're not concerned about Herbert having time to throw tonight. But what are we going to – we're just going to fade the Chargers? Like, well, I don't – it's for some of these spots for quarterbacks on one-game slates, it's – all right, if you assume that Herbert has no time to throw – it probably means the Chargers offensive line is having a poor game. So then it means you wouldn't want to roster Vidal. You don't want to roster Herbert. And then in that case, you're not rostering any of their pass catchers either. You can't really look at like, oh, this is just a bad spot for this team's offense. Therefore, we're going to avoid their passing game. I'm concerned about Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers passing game not being all that great. Like, these are just the teams that are playing. I
would look at it this way, Einstein, and others that have that concern. That's where I sort of called out the rushing upside of Herbert. That indicates that he is mobile and he is adequate at avoiding sacks to a certain degree, or at least giving himself more time in the pocket. The Steelers do have 27 sacks, but that only works out to just around 3 per game. And while that is, 6th or 7th in the league, it's tightly bunched. There's a bunch of teams around 26, 27, 28. And then the Broncos are light years ahead of everybody in the league. So they're a little above average. They have an adequate pass rush, but some of it has come against weak teams as well. That is making them look more like a paper tiger, in my opinion. So I'm not as worried about it. And given what we're dealing with here, I mean, sure, that would be a concern, I guess. What was concerning on Thursday Night Football? There was no scoring, right? Just weird. Embrace the weirdness here and try those stochastic sims. Greg, I turned 400 into 4,500 on Thursday Night Football Showdown. That was a good time. I'm going to drop a link into chat here where you guys can get free stochastic sims by you liked my segue into the selling point?
I was just wondering how confused you would be if I played a sound effect.
I always forget we have those. That second link I dropped in there. There you go. That is the Stokastic. If you click on that, you guys can see all the different operators that if you sign up through our links on that page follow the instructions, the 4 little steps at the top, you can get a free month of all access sims for each of the operators you sign up with. Single sport sims. So you can mix and match between the sports. You can also stack those. So you could go get the rest of the NFL season. But the sims hooked me up. It was a weird game. I allowed 2 defenses on the teams, and that ended up being what won it for me. And the funny thing is I even pushed down the Raiders defense, and I think I had them on like 27% of my lineups, and the Sims wanted to give me 40% across my 50 lineups. I wish I wouldn't have changed that. It could have been a bigger night. But trust the Sims. These are going to be weird games any given Sunday. All the fall that we like to bring up. I mean, look at the upsets that happened today. Miami's good now. Is that the takeaway from today? Buffalo's bad. Well, Buffalo's defense isn't good.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is football is, we talk about this a good amount, especially Lofty and I on the Wednesday show, when we're doing our first look at our initial projections. Football's really random, and especially divisional games, teams at home, they're always going to be live in that spot. It's very rare that you see the Commanders play the Lions. I know the end result was the Lions killed them. The spread at that game closed at 8.5, though. Like, you play that game based on what the money line was. You play that game 5 times or so, and the Commanders are expected to win, like 1 times out of 5 or something like that. Or if they play 10 times, they're expected to win like 3 out of 10 or something like that. It's very rare that there's a game that like the outcome is very much predetermined. Maybe the end of the year where you've got like one team's playing for a playoff spot and the other team's resting players, and then you get a game that's like a 19.5-point spread. But it's very rare that you have a game where it's kind of like a foregone conclusion. It's not like Thunder playing the Nets at home in the NBA. There isn't really an equivalent to that in most NFL games. And, you referenced the Dolphins beating the Bills today, and it's also easy to overreact to some of that. I mean, some of the line movement on the futures, because, I like to pay attention to that. Yes. Josh Allen came into the game plus 150 to win MVP. And now he's like the 6th best MVP odds after that game, because he got leapfrogged by Jonathan Taylor, Drake May, Patrick Mahomes, Sam Darnold, and Jonathan Taylor today. All those guys were ahead of him.
Oh, that's a shame. I see there's a super chat there. No, yes. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he did sign with the Steelers. He's on their practice squad this week. They did not elevate him for this game.
Oh, so I thought you were going to reference the other super chat, because I don't know if you saw this, but
no, I've been busy banning these bots, Greg.
Oh, yeah. The bots are super annoying right now. But Brandon Page left the super chat. He forgot to include the question in, but he had it underneath. Emac, here is his super chat. Can I give Emac playback permissions? I thought you had playback permissions.
I don't. And yesterday everybody was mad because I was around, but I couldn't launch and change the channels. So I meant to ask you that before the show. So thank you. And Greg, hopefully I can get them. I promise I won't show porn on them. I may show videos. You're not getting them. I may show videos of
yourself right out of permissions, Emac. You talked yourself right out of them. I can do that right now. I think
we'll do shadow puppet porn, maybe something like that.
Yeah, yeah, just Emac making shadows. Like, Did you not have them last year?
I did, but during the Great Purge, after the fake Jordan Klein incident, we took them away from everybody. But then you or Josh gave me subscriber rights. So
all right, let's see.
All right. While you're doing that, let me finish up here with the running backs for.
So Sandy. you do have them.
Oh, well, maybe we'll test that out after the show, because I couldn't figure out how to make it.
Yeah. You have them. You have them still.
Okay.
Just some buttons are changed this year.
Oh, that would be. It all looked confusing, so I need tech support. Running backs for the Chargers here. To finish up the pass catchers, Gadsden I put on par with all of the receivers on a fantasy point per dollar basis. He has had a great connection thus far with Herbert, and no other tight ends are really on the field to do anything besides block. I think the tight end position is averaging 1 target per game over the last 5 games. That is going to someone other than him. If we look at Omarion Hampton, I mentioned top of the show, he's out. Najee Harris done for the year. Hassan Haskins was just put on injured reserve. So we have Kamani Vidal, who was the rookie last year, but he ended up being only on the practice squad this year. Good thing that nobody else picked him off of waivers, because he is now the lead running back for the Chargers. He does not do much in the passing game, so that's a little bit of a challenge. He's fairly priced for not being particularly active in the passing game, so there's no reason to avoid him because of that. But it just kind of caps his upside, and it eliminates some of his floor. The backup for him is Jarrett Patterson. Patterson came in out of the Buffalo University. He has 20 career college catches, despite scoring over 50 touchdowns in 3 years of rushing for more than 1,000 yards. 1 year he rushed for 17 or 1,800 yards, Greg. He has 20 college catches. He was an undrafted free agent that came in with the Washington Commanders a few years ago. Played a little bit for them his rookie season, and then the second year he played one game for them. The next year he bounced back and forth between the Washington and Chargers practice squads, and then now he is back with the Chargers full time. He has, I think, 11 targets in his NFL career. I think he's played 45 games, something like that. Almost all of his work has come in the fourth quarter of the last two games. As I mentioned, that was mop-up duty, but he is the RB2 for that. And you can put a sprinkling in there, but there's so many other guys ahead of him on the pecking order for the touchdowns.
Yeah, and by the way, also just looking at some of the running back options overall in the game, just talking about skill position players, I do think that Kamani Vidal and Jaylen Warren are two of the best options in the game. And not Vidal, actually, I feel very good about his workload. Jaylen Warren, I do to an extent, even though Kenneth Gainwell's kind of been in the mix. But we just talked about how hard it is to figure out the workload for the Chargers pass catchers. Even though Jaylen Warren, it's not like a real bell cow workload, I feel better about Vidal's workload than any player on the Chargers as far as a skill position player goes. It just feels more stable to me. And then the same with Jaylen Warren and his role. DK Metcalf has more upside, to be sure, but DK Metcalf doesn't get a ton of targets, just kind of reliant on him breaking a long touchdown or something along those lines. So as far as the two running backs go in the game, Vidal and Warren, I think, are two of the safest options.
All right. Quickly on kickers. So Chris Boswell is actually my cousin. Well, I have a cousin named Chris Boswell. He is a PhD in physics and applied mathematics. So he's not the guy kicking tonight. But that Boswell has been absolutely phenomenal. He was the pro or the all-pro last year, also earned second career Pro Bowl accolades. He is ridiculous from 50 plus, something like 40 of 50 or 40 of 47 over the last few seasons. And he gets to kick indoors. He gets a ton of work. The team trusts him. He's been the kicker there for 11 years. Field goals are fickle. Field goal attempts, sometimes you get a shitty kicker who gets 6 and a great kicker doesn't get any, but he is pretty good. And then on the other side, Cameron Dicker, some call him Dicker the Skicker, the Dicker the Kicker.
What do they call him?
You got to sticker. You got to sticker. Wait, that doesn't sound very PC. Porn bots are coming now to fight off the.
It is. The bots are running rampant today. They've taken over the chat.
So did you know that Cameron Dicker has made 20 of 21 field goals this season? He has made 16 of 20 in the prior 2 years and 2 of 2 this year from 50 plus. And with a 94.1% accuracy rating for his career, he is the most accurate kicker in NFL history.
And fairly popular today. The two kickers, I'm just going off memory, Mac, but 27% ownership to Dicker, 24.5% projected ownership to Chris Boswell. I think this is the most kicker ownership we've had on any of these slates for the entire season. And at $5K and $5,400, I think that they're two of the better mid-range options on both DraftKings as well as FanDuel. Unfortunately, they're way more popular than normal, so it's not like one of these slates where it's like, hey, I just played 30% of both the kickers and you get 2x the field on them. It's not quite that easy to get overweight to them, but Certainly for cash games, DraftKings or FanDuel, or if you just need to save salary in that mid 5K range, Boswell and Dicker look like two of the better 5K options, Emac, which seems like that's where you're at on them too.
Exactly. And Team Free Money has 5 more $1 head-to-heads I'm just putting into chat right now, or into the DK lobby. Username Emac. I am playing both kickers in my cash game line.
Nice.
All right, 14 minutes to go. Let's round out defenses. So Chargers, on defense, just nothing exciting. They have eight takeaways. That's it for this the season. The Steelers have allowed only 7 turnovers. Steelers are allowing 2 sacks per game. Chargers are getting about 3. So not a ton to see there. The takeaway from this is, while Aaron Rodgers doesn't run, he gets rid of the ball very well and generally avoids sacks. If we look at the Pittsburgh defense, they are, as I mentioned, there were 27 sacks, is up near the leaders, nowhere close to Denver. But they have going against the Chargers are allowing 3.2 sacks per game. So that's a little more advantageous there for the Steelers. And Steelers are second in the league with 16 takeaways. Chargers are allowing 1.3 turnovers per game. So the Pittsburgh defense is viable. I would say cash game viable in this one. And you want to remember that even if even if the Chargers score points, we have you only can get up to -4 on DraftKings. So it's not super punitive.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you with the Chargers defense, particularly because I do expect the Chargers to win the game, which sets up what kind of game script? It sets up a game script for the Steelers to be throwing the ball more in the later stages of the game. And the reality is it's very difficult for defenses to score fantasy points if a team is running the football. If they're throwing the football, that's where interceptions, more fumbles, more sack opportunities come from. So generally, if I'm looking to roster a defense, I want to be sure that I think the opposing team is going to be throwing the football. And I think that is in all likelihood what the Steelers are more likely to be doing. So at $4,800, the Chargers is 13% owned. They're showing up as the top leverage play in the Sims Emac. So it's a pretty good way to be contrarian today. The Steelers defense to a lesser extent, but still also 13% owned, $4,400. They're playable, but the Sims are really pushing the Chargers defense tonight.
And that makes sense. I mean, and boy, after my fortuitous Thursday night, I don't want to fight the Sims on the defense after looking into the Raiders. Okay.
The other thing too, defense. I think a lot of people just look at defense and be like, "Well, that's not fun to play. That's not fun to play." The defenses they end up being really, really low owned on a lot of these slates. 13% ownership to each of the defenses in this game. And then you look at the fantasy point projections for reference. All right, we'll go to the flex. So Emac, we have the Chargers defense. I just only want the flex selected. All right, here we go. All right, so Chargers defense in the flex is projected for 7.5 fantasy points. For comparison, we've got them projected for more fantasy points than Kenneth Gainwell, but Gainwell's more popular. We've got them projected for a comparable amount of fantasy points to Calvin Austin, but he's $1,400 more expensive. So even just from a projection standpoint, they look pretty good relative to the other guys priced around them.
Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, how about the Seahawks defense today? Same guy caused the fumble, and then the same guy a different guy picked it up both times, 2 touchdowns. Just defenses are just they're chaotic.
I mean, nothing was dumber than the Jets defense today because
they had 2 kick returns, didn't they?
They had. So here's what happened: the Browns score, the Jets return the kickoff for a touchdown after the Browns score, and then the Browns they have their next possession. They end up punting the ball to the Jets after not scoring, and the Jets return that one for a punt touchdown. So all of a sudden, that's how you get the Jets as a top defense on the slate at a very cheap price and minimal ownership. And then people are like, how could you not play the Jets defense? Dylan Gabriel and the Browns offense is terrible. It's like, yeah, but that had nothing to do with how they score. In fact, one of the Jets touchdowns only came because the Browns scored a touchdown. If they stop the Browns from scoring, then they don't even get the kickoff return touchdown.
Oh.
By the way, the bots are completely out of control right now. This is insane.
Yeah.
I'm just removing them all. 3 separate bots just showed up.
We need to hire a bot exterminator.
It's like when people introduce pythons into like a non-native area because that's
Invasive
the only way
species.
it's the only way they could kill another species. But then you're stuck with like the pythons, so then you have to keep upgrading to the point where you need, like insane killing,
Like sharks with lasers on their head.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, these bots are out of control right here. But for the defenses, I think the other thing to bring up here, Emac, are you willing to play either of the defenses in the captain spot? That is not something that's showing up very much in the Sims. It is a little bit. You'll see we got the Chargers in 4% of lineups, the Steelers also. Is that something that you're willing to play in the multiplier spot?
So usually what I do is I set it at depending on how much it pops up in the first run of Sims, which I'm just doing mine right now. I usually set it to 2%, which means I only get one in the 50 lineups I'm playing. Sometimes I'll go 5%, but that still just means I'm getting two out of my 50 lineups. So I would say I'm not going to avoid it, but I don't go out and look for it. But that was a key to Thursday night's 10-7 game. So
yeah. What was the lineup? I'm trying to remember. Obviously, I had replied to you on Twitter. I quote tweet. I'm trying to remember though. You said you had both defenses in it. What else? I
had both defenses. I had Franklin in it because he had the touchdown.
Genty,
I had Genty in it. Yeah, I had both touchdowns, both defenses. And I don't remember my other one, but it was funny because the other lineup that just missed was the exact same people, but it flipped the. I believe it was Denver in the captain spot and Franklin into a utility spot, and they were just half a point behind. So the margins are very thin at the top.
That they are. I mean, it is for all DFS, but especially for some of these showdown slates. By the way, if you guys haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I just want to check really quick, Emac, if there's any questions in Discord outside. Nope. No other questions in Discord. So do want to show people some of the most duped lineups, which for today's slate, it's really spread out compared to some other slates. We've got in the 50,000 lineup pool, actually only two lineups that are duped north of 100 times. We got the 200 dupe lineup. That's Justin Herbert, Cameron Dicker, Jalen Warren, Ladd McConkey, Oronde Gadsden. So that is your most popular lineup on the entire slate. Your second most popular lineup, which is pretty close to a bunch of other ones, but McConkey, Rodgers, Dicker, Jonnu Smith, Justin Herbert, Oronde Gadsden. But really this top lineup is the one really problematic one in terms of dupes. Not that you want to have these other lineups either, but I think it's just worth noting how much more spread out the ownership is compared to a lot of the other showdown slates.
That makes sense. So I just did my caps on ownership. So I'm doing Herbert at 20, Metcalf, Warren, Gadsden, McConkey, Keenan Allen all at 10. Dicker is coming in at 6. I'm going to move that down to just one lineup. Quentin Johnson's at 6. Rodgers, I capped him at 4. Vidal, I capped at 4. So that's giving me Freiermuth in one lineup and each defense in one lineup. So I'm spreading things out a little bit tonight.
Yeah, that makes sense. Show you guys what the Sims are getting to here. Also pretty spread out. A little bit of a lean towards Justin Herbert over the other guys. But with that said, he's pulling 27% ownership. He showed up in less than 20% of top lineups. And then also the other thing too is that there's not even a link it's just a bot that says full game and there's no link, or it's just a bot that posts emojis. But anyway, as far as the other options go, you see we got 4 players in double-digit amount of lineups: Herbert, Metcalf, Gadsden, McConkey. Gadsden and Metcalf both relatively contrarian at 8% ownership apiece in that captain spot, but pretty spread out there, Emac.
All right, who are you not getting? I'm actually going to give a boost. I'm looking at my flex positions here. I'm with the field on Rodgers. I'm with the field on Gadsden. I want to go one tick higher on Gadsden. I'm at 34% of the Steelers defense. I'm going to go down 1.5. When I say take a 5% ROI down boost. Kickers, I'm getting around 30% of both, which is fine. I'm light on Vidal, and I'm light on Keenan Allen. The Keenan Allen one is concerning me, so I'm going to give him a 15% ROI boost and see what happens, and then I'm going to get these uploaded. But that is sort of how I'm playing things tonight.
Yeah, so at least in terms of who's not showing up in the Sims, we talked about at the top, Roman Wilson, just the salary savings not being all that necessary for this slate. And then also Keenan Allen, we show a pretty good amount underweight to the field to him, with him just being in 17% of lineups. In the flex, we're a little bit underweight to the field on Gadsden, but it's only because, well, at least primarily because we're overweight to the field to him in the captain spot. But of all the pass catchers, and once again, I have been terrible at trying to figure out who the pass catcher is for the Chargers, but at least in the Sims, it's Keenan Allen who shows up the least. So maybe that means he's going to be the high scorer for tonight, Emac.
How many Pittsburgh 5-1s did you get, or 4-2s?
We'll sort right here. Did you said Pittsburgh 5-1s or 4-2s? There's a decent amount of them at the top here. It's a very contrarian build, but of the top 20 lineups here, it looks like 8 of them or so are Pittsburgh 5 or 4s.
Okay. I'm getting 4 5-1s with Pittsburgh and 8 4-2s with Pittsburgh. So
okay. All right.
Sometimes those imbalance. I mean, you're going to be different from the field, because as I saw Amy and others posting in there, I'm getting 5-1 Charger stacks, which that seems to be what the Sims wants to give you. But sometimes you got to do the little what do the kids call it? IKB, I know better, and massage things.
I know ball. It's I know ball.
Oh, I know ball. Is that what that stands for?
Yeah. It's not I know ball. It's not I know better. It's I know ball.
Well, maybe I'd like to apply it to other disciplines in my life besides ball.
So, as far as Showdown goes, I bring this up on the programs a decent amount of time, but really the most valuable thing is to find lineups that project fairly decently, that are unique. And a lot of times it's either leaving salary on the table or just building 5-1 stacks or 4-2 stacks of the team that's an underdog that people are maybe staying away from. So that's one of the reasons you see some of those show up towards the top of the sim ROIs, just because of how unique they are.
All right, I'm all uploaded. Look at that, 3 minutes to go until lock. That's sweet. That's sweet. Did you play any NBA today, Greg? I know I did, because I have the Stokastic Sims at my disposal, FanDuel and DraftKings.
Yeah, I didn't play NBA DFS. I was more focused on the NFL. If there was better NBA contests tonight on DraftKings, I probably would have. So there was a couple of issues. The FanDuel lineups, the FanDuel tournaments, they included the late games, and I thought that was going to be potentially an issue with us doing this show. So I didn't want to deal with that. But then the DraftKings contest, I don't like when the prize pool is $150,000 and it's $50K to first. So
the winner take all.
Yeah. So for DraftKings, I just didn't really like the contest. And then for FanDuel, I didn't like that it included all of the games and that it could have been difficult. Like if some crazy news came out while we're on the show, it would have just been hard for me to get to it.
That makes sense. That makes sense. All right. I think we're good. I don't see any oh, here we go. Had to manually put in Maddox as a captain in the Sims. The Sims were just not having it. You know what? Pretty good chance you're going to have a unique lineup with that.
Yeah, pretty good chance you're going to have a bad lineup too, but you never know. If you have something to celebrate in these streets, if that does end up hitting. Emac, any other final thoughts on the slate? If not, it's time for me to read some phone numbers.
I think you got to send out those phone numbers. Remember, if you or anyone you know has a gambling issue, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Greg, back to you.
Yeah, so today's show, it is sponsored by DraftKings Pick 6. And we saw earlier in the show, Chris Albers, big DraftKings Pick 6 win. If you guys want to know how you could get in on the action, simply sign up at DraftKings Pick 6. We have links to sign up down below in the YouTube description box. And if you do your first $5 in Pick 6 sets, that will get you $50 issued as non-withdrawable bonus picks. If you're anybody you know has a gambling problem, call or text number 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Just call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus. Valid only where Pick 6 operates. See dkng.co/Pick 6 states. Void in New York and Ontario and where prohibited. Eligibility restrictions do apply. One per new DraftKings customer, and it is your first $5 in Pick 6 sets. They'll receive a max of $50 issued as non-withdrawable bonus money that expires in 14 days. Terms and conditions can be found at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. This is sponsored by DraftKings. Good luck tonight, everybody.